Welcome, one and all, to the first official episode of the Freestyle Takeover podcast. We are recording at a unnamed tremendous facility right now. I am one of your co-hosts, Paolo Sambrano, and to the left of me, I got
DJ Melvis over here.
And to the right of me, I got
Gabby J, aka Captain Canada.
Thank y'all so much for listening, tuning in. We got a lot to talk about today, but first I just want to say rest in peace to Avicii. You were gone too soon. You meant a lot to a bunch of people, and we hope that you are serving with Captain Jack in the great beyond. So
yeah, well, one of the things I could say about Avicii, aside from the fact that he did make his appearance in DDR Ace, is if you're actually a fan of Avicii, you know, just BDM in general, whatever, there's a really good video game out there if you have the PlayStation 4 called Invector, which is a game that he actually made. Not only does it feature his whole music, but the gameplay is very similar to Beatmania or, 2DX, which is obviously something all of us Beatmania players are very in tune with. So yeah, if you're curious, give it a whirl. Find a trailer online. It's called Invector. And yeah, if it's a cheap plug for him and helps his estate, so be it. Rest in peace, Avicii.
Yeah, love that trailer. It gave me chills. Wake Me Up still gives me chills to this day. It's a great song to freestyle too. I don't see pop music like that as guilty pleasure. I just see all music as pleasure. And Avicii really hit that for me.
First stage.
And moving on, we want to talk about the Cypher. For those who are just tuning in or been living under a rock, the response to the Cypher trailer that James, to my right, cut has been getting a lot of play, got a lot of interest going. We are running a online DDR freestyle tournament. We are taking entries till May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and our three songs for those who, again, are just tuning in are
Dance Celebration by Bill Hamel featuring Kevin's.
Was it Put Your Hands Up?
Hands Up in the Air.
Oh, yeah, by You Won. And my pick, which was Try to Love You by SFMP.
And then to enter, just film yourself freestyling. It can be at an arcade. It can be at your Stepmania setup. It can be singles. It can be doubles. Just no edits. No step chart edits. Send your entry to freestyletake@gmail.com or tag your video with the hashtag DDR Freestyle. We wanted to take this moment to officially announce our prize pool for the winner of this first ever Cypher tournament. First up, we got the Cypher Championship towel, or the Elite towel. Elite. Elite. Which will be only for the winner of the Cypher tournament. You cannot buy this. You cannot win this anywhere else. This is a one-of-a-kind thing for the winner. We got a Bimani swag pack going. We got V-Rares and...
Well, V-Rares are essentially the CDs that were given away as promotional materials when you bought the home version of a game. So, yeah, I'll throw in some of those from my stash. And like I said, when you say a little something extra from us, you just never know what you'll get. But we assure you we'll do our best to make it worth it.
And speaking of being on the lookout, seeing that what we do here at Freestyle Takeover is about building community and getting folks together, we wanted to announce on the podcast that we'll be at Fanime. We'll have our presence felt there at the grandest anime convention at the San Jose Convention Center. Fanime is a homecoming for a lot of us in the Bay Area, especially the crossover between anime and DDR. It's kind of a single circle Venn diagram. And
anime performance, costumes.
Absolutely.
And of course, you got me, who's been DJing I DJed 10 years at Fanime, so
yeah.
Clearly I have some stake in all of this.
This is James and I first DJ'd at Fanime.
I broke these guys in.
Yeah, so there's a lot of memories,
You can basically do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's like an open ground for just whatever you're into. I do miss it, so I'm looking forward to this.
It was incredibly formative for a lot of us in the scene. So we'll be looking forward to coming back and just soaking it all in as kind of the washed folk. And now we're going to bring two guests for you right now. We got James Szeto, aka 001. If 001 sounds familiar to you, you may recognize him as the winner of the first ever Freestyle Takeover tournament, which if you haven't seen yet, go to the DDR Freestyle Takeover archive at freestyletakeover.com, where you can watch that and over 15 years of DDR Freestyle for free. James, welcome to the Freestyle Takeover podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We're so glad to have you. Yeah, I guess as the winner, we just wanted to get your quick thoughts on the tournament and what was like to win.
Yeah, it was just really fun to be part of it. I mean, coming from someone that used to enter back in the day all the DDR freestyle tournaments in NorCal, and yeah, I mean, it's always been kind of in me even through the times where freestyle wasn't a thing really anymore. It's always been kind of in me to like I always tell myself if there was ever another tournament, I would definitely enter it. Through those years, I just found myself constantly every once in a while watching freestyle videos. Maybe it's a little bit of nostalgia, maybe it was just, that bit of me hoping that it would come back, that maybe I could compete once again. And then I've also just had ideas that I've always wanted to make freestyle routines too. So it was really awesome. And it was awesome just to see everyone there, not only the competitors, really just everyone there watching. I think we can also we always knew that there was still a venue and people that still wanted to see and even do freestyle. So it was definitely awesome just to see everyone there.
Right. So actually, considering you were obviously in this tournament, just kind of give us a little backstory because we always like the history of players. Considering I'm sure your playing experience spans almost to the beginnings of it being in NorCal. What was your first interaction with DDR and like your first impressions? How'd you get into it?
The first time I ever played DDR, I was how old was I? 13 maybe. I was at my brother's dorm room and they had it there and I didn't know what it was and I started playing and then I thought it was really fun so I started playing more. I never really thought of myself as competing in it, but then I found DDR Freak. I found all the freestyle videos and that's when I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome." And I kind of in middle school had a little bit of breakdancing background. I was into breaking. So when I saw that, I was like, I really want to try this.
Dude, I always thought those kids were like the coolest kids in high school. Like there was a club they would always perform at the pep rallies and all that.
Yeah, that was all me in middle school.
Dude,
Yo,
But,
nice.
Yeah, I watched all the videos. I was really inspired. It's stuff that I still watch today. And I really wanted to try and do it. And I started looking for tournaments. And at first, I was a little bit hesitant. I wasn't sure, that very first time, I was a little nervous. My first tournament was a CVGL one. It was like a huge tournament.
Yes.
of all
It was
tournaments.
like, yeah, it was like almost, was it like 50 people there maybe?
Feels like
Something. Yeah, I mean that room in there probably had like 100, but it was really fun. I mean, I never go into tournaments thinking I want to win or I'm gonna win. It's just I want to have a good time, and I definitely had a great time, and that kind of made me want to do it even more, and kept going from there. And was sad to see it go. In those 10 years kind of go away, but God, 10 years, yeah, maybe more. But it's back now. There's definitely, like I said, it was cool to see all the interest, all the people there, not only competing and watching at Freestyle Takeover. I think that only proves that there's still definitely a venue for it.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, just kind of giving a little bit of context to some of the people who may not know, but the CVGL tourney was arguably one of, as far as talent and routines go, that was like probably the highest bar set from a overall average. So kind of for 001 for James to have that as his first tournament is literally like taking an amateur runner and putting him into the New York Marathon and telling him, go get it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just really awesome to think that after something that competitive, you could still like not be discouraged, but rather encouraged to do this more often. So I think that's just a really awesome story behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was also the players at the time that were really helpful and really encouraging. I remember, I think I got like maybe 30th or something, and realistically, it was like that's my first tournament, so I shouldn't expect to like be doing that great. I got a lot to learn, but I definitely was a part of me was like, man, I wish I could have done better, and maybe a little bit down on myself. But then there are a bunch of guys in the community that were really encouraging, really helpful. I remember one Dean Lou Style.
Yeah.
He actually messaged me personally on DDR Freak, and he was just like, "Hey, keep it up. I can see the potential." And that really was awesome to hear that, and that really made me work even harder the next time around.
That is really awesome. And kids, remember, if Michael Jordan can get cut from his junior varsity high school team, hey, and still succeed, James just showed that, and that's not just a myth. You can, like, succeed after your first shot and not making it.
The original DMs.
Slide into my DDR freak
Oh, yeah.
inbox.
Dude, that's awesome. Like, do you meet a bunch of people at the event itself, or like do you sort of hang back? Like, how was it
I
being
mean,
there?
I guess thinking back then, it was still. I always had my little crew with me. We had our team Mad Steps back in the day, and we were already kind of there. So I had those guys to kind of, confide to and kind of be friends with the guy. I would say I'm generally a pretty shy person whenever I go to like new things. So I wasn't really out there just meeting people. It was cool to see all these people because I'm like, hey, I remember watching. I know those guys, those
Yeah.
videos. I've watched these videos, so it was pretty cool seeing everyone there. But I definitely wasn't that outgoing guy meeting everyone. It wasn't until maybe a couple tournaments later on where I felt like I could approach people and talk to them. Yeah.
But then, like, you became one of those guys just by putting yourself out there, and
Yeah, I
people
mean-
start looking up to you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, like to me, those guys that inspired me, and I watched at the very beginning when I first got into it. They're always on their own little like almost tier. I would say like I can do well, but that for me anyway, it's kind of like if someone looked up to Jordan, they're not gonna say like, "Oh, I'm here now" or "I'm better." Like he's always gonna be that figure that you look up to. And there's a bunch of videos that I still watch every once in a while now when I feel kind of burnt out, like, oh, I'm doing this routine or doing this freestyle and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And maybe I'm just not feeling it as much. And then I watch these videos and they just kind of bring me back.
All right. Well, if I may ask, any of those videos that you'd like to share with the rest of the class?
The very first video that I ever watched was 8 Balls, DJ 8 Balls Cafe.
Yes.
Oh, that was Matsuri AI.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like, I don't know if it's the best in my opinion, but one of the best routines I've ever seen. And for that to be kind of the first routine I ever watched was insane. Like I don't know how else to describe it. My jaw dropped. I was like, I didn't even know people were kind of dancing to it, but then he put such a solid routine together. It was flawless. And then I would say my other favorite is AJ's Secret Rendezvous. Yeah, those are definitely I would say two of my favorites. So much more, but those are the ones that I keep watching even to this day.
What was your prep like for Freestyle Takeover? Especially hearing, again, this is the first tournament, major tournament in a long while. Like, what was sort of reactions when like you heard that this was happening, and how did you sort of prepare? How did you prepare for the tournament? Like, if you want to walk us through that real quick.
Yeah. When I first heard about it, I was super happy to say the least. I couldn't really believe it because I was like, I never really thought, like, I always held out hope that maybe someone would bring it back and maybe one day there would be more freestyle tournaments. But to see
So did we.
yeah, right. And see it really happening, I was, I immediately told myself I'm in. But not only that, like I'm gonna work harder than I ever worked because I really want to. I mean, it's not really about winning. It was like I wanted to work really hard because I wanted to do a really good job on my routine to really kind of show what freestyle could be. Not only that, I just do have like a higher standard on myself too. If I'm gonna do a routine, I'm not gonna kind of half-ass it. I'm gonna really try my hardest. And for me, it's always about the song first. It's funny for me because I've had the song in mind for 15 years.
What?
I've always wanted to do that song. And the song was Blue Impulse. I think it's still probably my favorite songs in GR. I don't feel like there's any other song that's like it. It's very unique in a way. And for me, it's always about bringing the feeling of the song out and what I feel when I hear the song. So it might not necessarily be a certain person's cup of tea, maybe, but it's what I want to do with the song. It's what I envision of the song. And so that's always kind of my preparation at the very beginning. And then I kind of do a lot of research, watch a lot of videos, music videos. That's kind of always my thing. Like I grew up in like a music video era. So watching a lot of videos, getting a lot of ideas, and kind of incorporating things here and there, and making sure that it kind of one move or one thing transitions smoothly to the next. I really want to make it look kind of like a set, almost like a music video in a way. Like I grew up in high school with K-pop, so like a lot of my routines, I really try to aim to make it seem like you're watching like a K-pop video. I want you to forget that you're watching a DDR machine.
That's the hardest part, is like taking it from a game that's based around stepping and incorporating your whole body, like making it fluid and turning it into dance, which is hard to do. It's really hard to do when you're starting out.
And I don't really consider myself a dancer, so it's always a little awkward for me at first because I've never taken any dance classes. I don't really dance that often, really. I don't go to any dance classes. I don't go to like the club and dance or anything. So for me, DDR is in a weird way the only time I really do dance.
Nice.
So it's always a little weird for me at the beginning, but once it kind of starts flowing and I start stringing things together, and that's also kind of how I go about memorizing the steps as well. I kind of memorize sections where I do certain moves or I move in a certain way. That kind of helps me memorize the steps rather than just kind of like looking at the steps and memorizing them first.
I really love that because I was sort of like batting around this question in my head about like sort of your dance sort of vertical with like sort of your DDR freestyle vertical is sort of these two parallel paths, and really it's really the same thing because there's a lot of folks in the freestyle community who've sort of taken dance or they've become dancers because of DDR and they've kind of split off into both ways, but the fact that you've kind of partitioned both of them in the same one is really like unique and special. And I think like, I don't know, dare I say it's kind of inspirational. I know like we're not trying to, I don't know, like I think that's cool because I think folks think that if they want to get into freestyle, they have to basically do all these like prerequisite work.
Yeah, you really don't.
Yeah.
You have to love the game first. I think that's the most important foundational part of being a freestyler is just being a DDR player and going from there.
And then once you're the player, I think the most important thing is, like you touched upon, it's just finding inspiration. And from you being, a kid who is into the music video scene and such like that, I mean, inspiration's everywhere. It could be music videos. I mean, you could even watch like Daffy Duck and Looney Tunes and see how he moves spastically, and that could be a thing. So, yeah, for anyone out there who wants to get into freestyle, like, inspiration is just as important as, just having the love for the game.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Watch Soul Train. You could watch Coffee Dance Party.
Hey, Paolo's still dance party famous out there.
Yeah.
Got recognized at the Oakland A's game for being on there.
Yeah, for me, inspiration comes randomly all the time. Like for example, my routine for On the Jazz, the big kind of moment was when I did this glide into the chain, where I swing the chain around, and I literally like maybe the week before that watched the VMAs and Usher did that, and I was like, that's sick.
Yo!
And I was like, do I have a chain? Let me try this. And it worked, and I was like, thank God it worked, because a lot of times when I practice it didn't work. I'm glad it did work.
It was clean.
Yeah, I remember when
I still remember that.
Yeah, I remember when we saw that. That was just the first thing, like, in the crowd. All of us were like, dude, he pulled the Usher off. We were just like,
there you go.
The Usher. Yeah. But yeah, I remember, like, a couple of your teams integrated some of the Usher stuff. I think, like, the hat bouncer were like,
oh,
yeah. Yeah, it was the You Remind Me. Yeah.
That was in the same routine.
Yes.
That was like, Usher was pretty much my inspiration for that whole routine. That was like right after when that channel, the box, went out.
Oh,
do you remember the box? Oh man, I love the box.
The box was dope.
Yeah,
that was some like
best thing.
Proto, not user created content, but that like vote
on
for
demand.
Yeah, on demand. Like
so sick. I love that.
God,
the box.
Damn.
Memory.
Yeah.
All right, so kind of bouncing back from something you were mentioning around when freestyle was kind of fading out. It was probably around 2008 was the last tournament. It was Summer Madness. So, yeah, from there, the freestyle scene had just kind of fizzled out for a while. So, between then and now, how are you coping with it?
I guess, like I said, I would watch a lot of the videos still. Every once in a while, you go to, I don't know, a D&B or some place that has it, and your friends are there with you, and you feel like playing around. So I'll do a little bit here and there, but nothing like a routine or anything. It was always there. I've always wish that it didn't go away, but then I got into other things, I guess, to fuel or like feed my competitive nature, I guess. I played a lot of Street Fighter. I guess I still do. But I mean, freestyle wise, it was always there. I always had ideas, songs that I wanted to try to make a freestyle routine to one day. I don't know. It was just kind of dormant, I guess. It was just always there, but needed a venue and a place to kind of let it out.
Do you remember the mixes that you played at all? Like I never played any of the X series at all. I never played Supernova 2.
I never really even played Supernova.
Really? Okay.
Wow.
Extreme was kind of my last one.
Mm.
Yeah.
Supernova, I knew some of the songs, but that's kind of the reason why now when I play DDR Ace or try to go and look for songs to make routines to, I have to reach back to Extreme because I just don't know a lot of the new songs. So
I would say Supernova had a lot of sneaky good selections for freestyle. I would say, honest to God, as far as song selection goes, leading into Ace, that was probably the last like solid playlist for that sort of thing.
It was real good.
Yeah.
yeah, I stopped kind of at Extreme and kind of like I said, it was the freestyle fire was always there. It just was kind of sitting there. So it was sitting there and waiting. I wouldn't say it ever faded because every once in a while I would still look up routines and watch stuff. So yeah, and now we're bringing it back. So it's finally got an area and venue to kind of this fire to be released in a way. So that's been nice.
That's great. And I guess like real quick, you've mentioned you played a lot of Street Fighter, sort of in between freestyle eras. I was wondering, like, could you kind of compare and contrast like the fighting game community that versus what the DDR community was like, way back when, or kind of the crossover of that?
Like it was what became hot in 2008, 2009. We also kind of found
Mhm.
a new genre of game to get into. Still like very much based in the arcade. We're all arcade kids, but it really kind of took over, and
Yeah.
I loved it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
I mean, I think that's definitely, I mean, being in the arcade, I think that was kind of the big reason why you see a lot of the same people that might have played DDR back in the day now are in the FGC playing fighting games. Community wise, I personally think it's very different. And very different in, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the FGC because I'm still in it. I still am actively a player and organizer and things like that. I commentate. So I don't want to like say I'm bashing it, but I think they would know at the same time that the FGC is kind of it's not as nice as the community in DDR in general. It's not as people aren't as helpful usually. Um, it's different in the sense that yeah, it's just not as helpful for someone that's trying to get into it. In my own experience, when I first started getting into freestyle and into the DDR scene, everyone was super helpful, and the scene is always just so positive. There's never really any negative energy. Everyone shows up. You want to compete and you want to win and you want to do your best, but you're just happy to watch each other. I think one of the best examples is Bruce Leroy, BJ. He's one of the greatest freestylers ever, going back to our era, I guess. But the thing with him is that even though he's competing and he's trying to win, if you watch a lot of the old videos, he's like the guy going the craziest in the background, right? And that just kind of shows kind of that positive energy, no matter like who you are and what's going on. And it kind of was mirrored at the freestyle takeover. Everyone was just there having a great time. That's not necessarily the case in FGC. I'm gonna say, in my experience, for a lot of reasons, but I think it's that the difference is is that kind of positive energy that's a constant in the DDR community and definitely in the freestyle community. And that's why that's another reason why I really was happy with freestyle takeover and just kind of having this community again because it's just so positive. Everyone's just having a great time.
Yeah, in the mortal words of Sliden, DDR is about having fun.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean it's the FGC. It's a lot of it is based on and it's head to head. You support each other. You trade tech each session, but at a tournament, that tournament environment, people want to get on top.
Yeah, it's like a much more inherently intimidating environment.
Yeah. Freestyle, it's a lot more informal. So it's sort of like kind of going to a band like a concert and saying, oh, what music do I like? It's not like each band is trying to outdo the other. It's about, hey, let's put on a show for the fans. So that's kind of how I see DDR, different in that sense from, that community. Also, I guess, kind of spitball my own hypothesis, is we grew up with DDR like literally as it first came out in America. And so for us to promote the game, whether it was through tournaments or freestyle and all that, we were kind of like, this was very much a cult following type thing. So the game is only going to be as popular as you make it out to be. So, when you see these people that are rabid fans, we're all, in this, we kind of had this inherent sense. We're all in this together. So
It's like a different kind of camaraderie that I haven't seen in any other communities, I guess.
It's not like an online net play kind of thing.
Right, right. And it's just like Mel was saying, it's just very much about everyone getting together and having a good time. Even though we always knew these were tournaments, someone has to win. It wasn't really ever about that, right? I mean, there were times that you would have certain strategies. Like back in the day, you go into the tournament and people will ask you, like, what song are you gonna do? And you're like, oh, I'm not sure yet. You obviously know.
Yeah.
But it's never that serious. It's never so serious to where you have hard feelings or you're, there's any negative energy. It's always positive. Everyone always has a great time, and that's one of the things that was the most awesome about freestyle, and still is.
It's a party.
yeah, I think the thing about freestyle, why people are more open to giving out tips or whatever, you could tell someone like what you did, what videos you watched, and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's really hard to like jack someone's swag like that because what makes Bruce Leroy awesome. It is hard to mimic like down to a T. Freestyle is very much a like this is your thumbprint. Like even though there are some similar elements, there's always just that little bit of difference that makes a person different than everyone else. So I think in that way, that's kind of what's awesome about freestyle because it is a big, vast field. You could be anything and be dope.
Yeah, they can't take that away from you.
Yeah,
like whatever your own personal style is, like that's what people remember you for.
So James, we just want to thank you so much for your time, and this has been a really great talk. We got to move on to our next guest, but before we wrap on this, is there anything that you're hoping for freestyle in 2018 and beyond?
I think what we all did with Freestyle Takeover, and what you guys did with Freestyle Takeover is awesome, and it's just a start, right? And I hope that it gets more people to not only see what freestyle is and kind of re-educate people what freestyle is, and just have more people not only competing. That definitely I want people to compete, but just freestyling in general. And I think we definitely proved that fire is still there. People still enjoy watching it and doing it. So I definitely just hope to see more people having fun and freestyling, no matter the game.
Perfect. Yo, thank you so much, James. Is there anything you want to shout out, or if you want to give people your social media info if they want to follow you on internets?
Yeah, my Twitter is JameNHD, JAMENHD. It's weird because that's my handle in Street Fighter. That's another story. Shout outs to freestylers everywhere. Shout outs to you guys.
You think we'll get LPN?
No, he don't. No.
Team Pandora House?
They don't matter right now. They don't matter.
Oh.
Shout outs to Mad Steps.
There you go.
Yeah. Mad Steps.
Marky.
No, I'm kidding. Shout out to Pandora House. Sure, Pandora House.
Second stage.
All right, that was a great interview we had with James. Now we know the backbone of Freestyle Takeover is all about DDR freestyle, but at the core of it all, we're all rhythm game fans. So now we'd like to bring in Kevin Tan, who is an ambassador for Pump It Up, which is the game by Andamiro, and he is also the tournament organizer for an upcoming event next week, the US Pump Festival in San Jose. So, Kevin, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. We're so happy to host you. We're so happy to hear about the festival, and we just want to know, like, what should the listening audiences at home, in their commute, at the gym, should be expecting from the US Pump Festival next Saturday?
So the US Pump Festival is the official national tournament for Pump It Up, which is the Korean dancing game, in case some people aren't aware of what it is. Like, there are actually 3 divisions. So one for male speed, one for female speed, and one for freestyle, of course. Very important. And what speed is more of like the equivalent of like what technical is in DDR, where it's all about scores and high scoring. So there's a timing component that's very important, and a huge stamina component, because a lot of the charts are designed to test your stamina.
That's great. So, I mean, I think what we've been sort of talking about, shouting out the people in tech who've been keeping DDR alive and sort of in the conversation, but I think what's been really cool and what we should be also putting over is how Pump It Up has actually kept freestyle alive And I don't know if you could just want to talk about real quick about the history of Pump It Up Freestyle in the United States, seeing as you're the ambassador supporter, one of 4, was it, in America?
Yeah, 4 in America. So I guess I'm of the supporters, I'm probably the one that's been in the scene the longest at this point, which is kind of indicating my age a little bit, but but anyway, so I it's all good, right? I've actually started Pump in 2000, but I wasn't in the US until 2002. And that's when I found out, oh, there's actually a US Pump scene. It's very small. And like, because Pump is a very niche game in comparison to DDR. I was just excited to see like that there were definitely like freestylers. One of the most famous ones is Smidget, James DeVito. He's one of the more famous ones from a long time ago.
He was on the Steve Harvey show, wasn't he?
Huh?
There was a clip of him on Steve Harvey, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it's
Wow.
I've seen
that
that.
is the
I
person.
love that clip.
I got to do some research tonight.
Yo,
Then.
linear notes, liner notes.
Yes. I mean some part of me is like I hope he can come this year because he actually judged freestyle for the past USPFs back until 2013. So he doesn't really do he's kind of semi-retired and also it's partially because machines are a bit hard to come by, but so most of Pump Freestyle started like in Korea where they had a thing called Pump Street. Mostly like there was a lot of b-boy stuff. So it was really different from back then. Even the charts back then are a lot tougher than nowadays because they were geared toward more like, oh, even if it's like level 7 on doubles, you should be able to do a b-boy routine to it. You'll be fine. So it was a really different time back then. And I think though that a lot of when WPF started in 2005, that's when people started seeing, okay, maybe it doesn't have to be about b-boying because there were more styles coming in. I think in 2005 there was a Mexican team that wasn't really about b-boying. It was more of I guess it's kind of like ballroom dancing, and
Nice.
it was really cool to see that. There was kind of like a weird lull period after 2007, when there was a WPF until 2011 for Pump in the US for in terms of national tournaments. But another WPF was announced for 2011. Everyone just kind of like, oh, we need to compete again. Like there was actually a tournament again. And people were excited. And we had a new person named Archie he won 2011, 2012, and 13. He was also a b-boyer, incidentally. So he won he won 3 straight until 2013 when it was funny because nobody had planned a USPF that year. And we got a huge opportunity. A guy named Joe. Do you guys know Jonas? Jonas Juice?
Yeah, part of NCWO.
Yeah.
Who also
Right.
came up in the DDR freestyle scene.
Yeah, he was. And he was the one who pushed me to organize USPF 2013 because there was nobody to do it. So 2013 was in PMX LA, and 2014 was also in LA. 2015, did we do anything in No. And then they announced WPF 2016, and we did that in Chicago. And the winners were a dual team from Virginia Beach. So, but I don't know how to they're kind of like pop and lock. That's more of their style. So less b-boy. So it was interesting to have. It was a different change from the winners past, and that kind of brings us to now. So the funny thing is that the winners for that WPF 2016 were from Japan. They were DDR freestylers, ballroom dancers. A lot of people in the Pump scene didn't know who they were because Japan was off the map for Pump for a lot of its legal reasons because the game couldn't be distributed until 2015. And they just entered in and just like got a world championship, a world competition, first place.
Go watch that routine. Team Pandasan.
It was Pandasan.
They're
Yep, that's them.
incredible.
Yeah.
Incredibly supportive guys, or a guy and his wife. Forgot about their names, but he's the nicest guy on Twitter. Go follow him. He'll follow you right back.
Yeah, shout out for the love. Panda-san has been giving us social media, retweeting us, and spreading the love of hashtag DDR freestyle.
Yeah, Shingo and Penko they're really awesome. I met them in real life. Like I met them in the WPF because I had gone there to support the US team. I mean, like I didn't win, but I was just there to be like the cheerleading squad. So I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of freestyles around the world too. Indonesia is actually probably among the countries I also really are following, and they don't do only b-boy. They have like, if you look at Indonesia, it's just like some of these are just like cultural dances. It's just crazy. Like what
Wow.
I mean, no routine is flawless, but I'm just like, oh wow, this is like a lot more variety than I expected. And like the shape of free pump freestyle is changing because it's like, no, you can do what you did in DDR freestyle and you can win. You don't have to be a b-boy to win. You don't have to do the same, pick a hip hop song and just do the same routine, which is what a lot of people generally did before in like 2007. And it's also partially influenced by the fact that the game's music is also shifting a different way, for better or worse. Some people don't like the shift and some people do. Yeah, that's I don't know if I rambled on a bit, but that's
That was great. That's really illuminating, to be honest.
Yeah,
Because
this is like a very much like a today I learned about
yo,
Pump It Up, and I think it's kind of funny in a way that there was the dead zone that we were talking about with DDR freestyle between 2006 and more or less today, and then you mentioned the dead zone of Pump It Up freestyle between '07 and 2011. So I was like, wow, that must have been a really rough time for anyone who was into freestyle.
yeah.
right. In the US, it's particularly rough because the machine access was really like funny. Like we take round one for like I'm sure like it's the same for like DDR. Is like you didn't have until you had Ace, you had these machines strewn around. For Pump, it was like nothing from '09 to 2015. Nothing. No machines in the Bay Area that were good enough, I guess. Or the machines were in Rohnert Park or Sacramento. So
Yeah. I do find it actually very fascinating because when you're mentioning pump freestyle around the world, you mentioned places like Brazil, like Indonesia, and like even in the U.S., people from like Texas or Virginia. Whereas I think when it comes to U.S. DDR freestyle, California tends to be very much like the center point of where a lot of the activity is going on. But with pump, it seems to be very much larger. There's a much greater outreach. I'm curious to see, what's your take on why that would be.
to be honest, I'm actually not entirely sure. I mean, I will say that our freestyle turnout nowadays for Pump is better here than in most other regions. But back then, it's probably because, like, one, there wasn't enough machines. And, like, I think, ironically, I also think that it's partially because DDR is very popular. And at the time, if there's no machines for Pump and you already have DDR, you kind of don't need to play Pump, I guess, which is kind of funny because like DDR was my second game, not my first game. So I didn't play DDR until 3 years after I played Pump. But I mean, where I lived in Saipan, there was no DDR machines. I had to go to a neighboring island to go play DDR. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool. I got to learn about K-pop before it got cool. It was cool or something.
It's really great to see crossover players and people playing both games. Decree blew me away when I saw him play DDR because I thought he was only a pump player. He'd entered a bunch of your tournaments, and I saw him get on an ace machine, and he's whacking, he's voguing, he's mastered both games. And that's really awesome to see, and I want to see more of that. Just more dance game freestyle. If you play one game,
right,
you can probably cross over to another game pretty easily, and just seeing both communities support each other.
Yeah. I'd love that too, because I feel like ultimately everyone wants freestyle to be big. I'm really sad I see it weakened in some regions. So it's ironic I'm talking about how Korea started the freestyle stuff, but nowadays there's just nothing. They have no freestyle scene anymore. Korea is now known as the home of the strongest speed players like Fems or S Lions and all those guys, but they're all speed players, and that's awesome. But it's just unfortunate, like that pump street spirit is like completely like gone. And Mexico had a turnout for their national tournament from at least 12 people in 2016 to 2 this year. And I was just like, no, I don't want that to happen for the US. This is our chance to like, hey, like there's people that care about that here. Other countries like don't like Indonesia don't like keep holding on to that and keep holding on to like freestyle. This is the first way of competing for a lot of these dance games, and it's so cool to see. It's different from just doing the standard path of like, oh, I'm just going to make a linear progression to become a better speed player. And I think it's partially that freestyle is so creative, whereas like with speed, it's a very like it's a different mindset. There's a different way to compete, and I respect both, but I want to keep help with freestyle as much as I can.
Nice. You mentioned that you are sort of like an ambassador with setting up these pump tournaments and such. So I assume you have a working relationship with Andamiro, yes?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Tell us a little about how supportive they've been with, the promotion of this game and like, kind of how they've been holding tournaments.
So, I mean, Andamiro is, I guess it's sort of it's not as big a company as Konami, so definitely not. And like the amount of resources they can actually give is kind of limited, but they, at the very least, they do care about, like, they do ask us like what did the players think about the game, or like we tell them like, hey, there's a bug. We actually have a different designation for charts. There's actually just normal singles and doubles, and then there's something called the double performance, which was designed for freestylers. And like that's kind of the way it's been since 2010, when they first introduced the moniker, when they identified charts of like, this chart was designed for freestyle, here's a label on it.
That's really cool.
Let's say the last time I can remember DDR making steps that had freestylers in mind was when me and a bunch of the guys who did QA/step data for Ultramix 2 for the Xbox, because a lot of us who were on that team, it was like me, Asian Innovation, like AJ, like those guys. Yeah, when we were doing free like doubles step charts, we actually thought, hey, how can we make this better for freestylers? And we always thought, well, you never put an arrow on like in a 4 count. You don't go on to 1 or to 3. You always go on to 2 or to 4. And I'll say this anytime I get a chance. When I think about Ultramix 2, that was probably the most fun I've ever had with DDR. Just putting the game together, and as far as step data and such, it's just something I'm super proud of.
That's awesome. I always like what I'm still in wonder. I'm like, oh gosh, you actually work someone I like you got what Mel, you worked on like an actual DDR mix for a console game. That's so cool.
Yeah, living
that
the
you got
dream, man.
Oh my gosh. So the funny thing is that after 2013, the guy who did the freestyle charts, he retired. But one thing is that the community came together and said, like, Andamiro, we know you don't have a freestyle chart maker, but we want to do charts. And it's like, so Indonesia and a bunch of other countries, they came together and said, like, I know you don't have a guy doing freestyle charts. That's fine. We have people who are willing to do it because we want to keep freestyle alive, and we want freestylers to have the tools. And they were like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And everyone just did it for free, but they was like, better than nothing, right?
Sure.
And so they've done that for both Prime 1 and the current game, Prime 2. So it was pretty cool that Andamiro gave us the chance to do it. Like, they didn't say like, oh, you're not our step makers, you cannot work on this. People care and people want to contribute content. And it's really cool to see that, and that they were willing to let us have a chance to do it.
Totally. It's like seeing Mike Ross or Combo Fiend get incorporated into Capcom and really connect with the community that way and get input. It'd be amazing to see Konami pull that off, but in 2018 present day Konami, I don't know what's going on there. We got a lot of work to do.
Right, yeah. Any feedback we give is given to the guy who's kind of in charge. And of course they have said like, okay, well, there's some things we can't support because the company can't spare the resources, because funny thing is that Andamiro itself is mostly, they actually make most of their money from redemption games. So you see there's a basketball game in round 1 that's Andamiro too. So there's actually characters from Pump on that basketball game, which is hilarious. So I was,
Yeah.
At least it's not Pachinko.
oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kevin, like, we're gonna wrap it up soon, but thank you so much for your time, and just let the people know like where can they get more information, where can they sign up, and where can they find you on social media.
So we actually have an official site for Pump It Up in the United States itself. It's facebook.com/pumpitupusa. That's the official page. We have a Facebook page for the actual USPF. We also have a group page for ourselves in NorCal, which is called the NorCal World Order. It's facebook.com/NorCalPWA. PIU. That should bring you to the NorCal World Order. You probably guess what's the reference from, but
Bunch of wrestling marks.
Yeah.
Hey, just like us.
and and so oh yes, and of course I need to tell you guys where USPF actually is taking place. So it's taking place really soon, April 28th. Which is a Saturday. It's at Round 1 San Jose. So East Ridge Mall is where it's going to take place. And it's if you actually want to participate, it's $10 to enter. So that venue fee goes straight to Round 1. We are not making any profit off this. We're running an official tournament. And the winner of this tournament may be eligible for a future international up event. And Anamiro is probably going to announce something related to that, but I can't say what. It's exciting news for if the winners want to do something outside of the US. That's all I'll say for now.
Yeah, that's super exciting, dude.
We are definitely like hoping for a really good turnout, so we'll definitely make it worth your while. You'll definitely get to see some awesome freestyle routines, as well as a lot of people sweating a lot of pain from all divisions.
For anybody outside California, are you gonna be putting this on stream at all or online?
Yes, it's twitch.tv/NorCal World Order is where we'll be broadcasting from. It's the same one we've used it for previous tournaments that were local. And this is going to be for the national side, so we're excited.
I'm pretty sure Freestyle Takeover will have a presence at USPF. Well, we'll be there in support at the very least.
Yeah, can't wait, man.
Absolutely. And Kevin, where can folks find you online?
I confess that I'm not the most active on Twitter, so there's a twitter.com/Valius. In Facebook, it's facebook.com/VALIUSPIU. So I should be easy to find. If you ever want to message me about either tournaments or you want to just message me because you're like a new player in NorCal and you want to join our community, we accept everybody. Like they play both Pump and DDR and Dance Evolution, or some even do like Just Dance tournaments, which are pretty crazy. And I have a lot of respect for people who can do that. Like that's pretty tough.
And I can say,
So
just for the record, anyone who messages Kevin, he is very much helpful. Dude is very legit and very nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, our community is very like welcoming. Like we try, like everyone just keeps their like no egos. Just like we want everyone to perform their best or perform as well as you want. Like this can just be a hobby for you, or you can just you can go aim for the top. That's all legit. It's all legit. And like that's the way I think it should be. Like that's how I feel a community should be, or especially here in NorCal.
That's a really great sentiment to end this episode on, Kevin. So again, we want to thank you so much for your time, and I think that about does it for the first episode.
Yeah, this was a monster, and kind of just to put this in perspective, when we were on the Aero panel, like promoting Freestyle Takeover, I remember Funga saying that we went over their time limit. They had no idea, but they felt like we could talk for hours about the subject. And Kevin, with what you've enlightened us with Pump It Up about, I honestly think we could have gone an extra hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's a testament to not only how fascinating the game is for people who aren't in the know, but you really have earned your title as an ambassador to the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking with you, everybody here, and for you guys having me to be able to mouth off about Pump It Up and dance games.
We learned a lot, and I think we're all better for it, like, in all honesty. So with that said, let's wrap it up. This has been the Freestyle Takeover podcast. I've been Paolo. You can follow me on Twitter at Paolo, Paolo.
And I'm DJ Melvis, and you can find me anywhere on social media. Pretty much everything is at DJ Melvis, whether it's Instagram or Snap or Facebook or MyFitnessPal. Hell, you know.
And I am at YayGabbyJ on Twitter. That's Gabby Jay. Also follow us at FS Takeover on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We're on all our content there, our announcements, and promoting anything we can, freestyle related, dances we find out there online. We just want to give you guys some visibility and support you.
Be sure to tag it as DDR Freestyle. I guess we are taking that over as the hashtag. I mean, no one else is going to do it.
You should.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, screw it. It's official. And be sure to check out freestyletakeover.com. You can check out the DDR Freestyle Archive. It's over 15 years of DDR Freestyle, and it's growing. We got some tape libraries coming up. We got some more stuff we want to find. This is a real community-driven effort. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Freestyle Takeover. And with that said, remember,
You fail 100% of the freestyles you don't perform.
Nailed it.